metallic minerals. Okay, alluvial can be kind of a tricky word, and so I circle it, look it up, and it basically means that it's associated with water movement and soil, and so as things are carried through water, water carries minerals, right? That's alluvial. There we go. And lode deposits, I looked up, and that was just the result of the water moving through the minerals. And so now moving on, we've got cast is mined by dredging of alluvial deposits where the ore is broken up by either high pressure water or an excavator or hard rock mining methods, usually from underground mines. Okay, this is the process. So I say this is process. And I say underground mines. And then what is it? Dredging alluvial deposits where the ore is broken. So underground deposit, and then I get it by high pressure, and then excavator, or hard rock mining. And so now I know where tin comes from and then how we get it. It's a little easier, right? And then I've got my next sentence. Crushed ore is concentrated usually in co-location with the mine through a combination of flotation, gravity, and magnetic processes to produce a cast concentrate containing 70 to 70% tin. And so this sentence is you telling me this is the process, this is where it comes from, and this is more the process. So this is how we get it. There we go. So the first is actually how we get it, and then the second is the steps and process. So with this example, this is just one example of how to do active reading. I'm thinking about the material and putting it into my own words as I go along. And breaking it down this way is a much easier way for you to remember, to recognize, and to then, if you need to find information later, go back and find it. And it seems really like it takes a long time, but as the process becomes more intuitive and as you do it more, it's going to go a lot faster. And instead of reading for 5 minutes and being like, oh, what did I just read? You're probably going to be reading for 5 minutes, and then even if you forgot something, you will have retained more. So that's with active reading. And I hope that this helps. This is a skill that takes time to develop, and don't worry if it's hard to put things in your own words the first few times that you do it. That's a normal part. Now we're going to be talking about reading a textbook. When we read a book, we're used to reading from the beginning and going to the end. But with textbooks, the way that they're written, we can really help our brains, we can help understand that material if we do it a little bit differently. Start at the end of the chapter. Many times in many textbooks at the end of the chapter, there are these section summaries or chapter summaries, and they give small glimpses, like simplified statements of what the chapter is about. So we can read those to get a better understanding, to just kind of prime our brain for where we're going. Sometimes there are vocab lists at the end of a chapter that help us, before we jump in, recognize those words. And sometimes for English, at the end of the chapter or at the end of the reading, read those questions first to see, as we're reading, what am I supposed to be thinking about? Now, when we read so you start at the end of the chapter, read the summaries, read the questions, go through the vocab, and then actively read through the section, through that section of the chapter. And you will find so much more is understood. It takes less work to get up that hill of understanding. Oh, hey, layering again. What have we talked about? We've talked about the basics with taking care of your health, practicing positive mental health as much as we can in this time. We've talked about layering, how it helps us to remember and tells our brain what's important. And this can be done in a variety of ways, whether it's incorporating movement, the before and after method, whatever works for you. Time management, where we work at analyzing our schedules, and something that we didn't mention earlier, but as you find, try your schedule, and if it doesn't work, just try something else. And then the Pomodoro technique, where we sit down for 25 minutes, we really focus, and then we give ourselves a reward for doing that. Active reading, where we outline, where we look up difficult words, where we put these sometimes difficult concepts and wording into our own words. And the importance of reading a textbook, sometimes a different way, where we start at the end of the chapter summaries and give ourselves a simplified explanation of what we're going to be reading. And then as we read the more intense explanation, sometimes it's a lot easier for our brains to understand that. Next, we're going to be talking about taking notes and celebrating achievements. So there's a few different ways to take notes, and there are as many ways to take notes as there are people. I've chosen 3 different ones to talk about today. The first is the Cornell method. That is a tried and true method from Cornell. Obviously, that's where it comes from. And it is the picture on your left, where we divide it, we take a sheet of paper and we divide up, we take and draw a line at the bottom and draw a line on the left. And then this area that's left over is where we take notes. In the Q column, we write like topic, right? And then it's going to be science, if my pen will work. And then you have another, maybe it's a class, and there's an important date here. 1892, whatever. And then after, you leave the summary section blank until after you're finished with the class. And then afterwards, when you're going over your notes, put in your own words down here in the summary what works for you, or what you understood, or questions that you might have left over. Now I'm going to show you my method, which is kind of a modified Cornell method. So we're going to go in, and I take a piece of notebook paper and I draw a line along the left, or along the right hand column. And then I go to take notes. And over here is my cue. And here are my notes. So here I'll have like topic today, whatever it is, and I'll write, study skills. And then write whatever is for that section. And then what I do is I draw a squiggly line. And then we go on. Let's say the next one is a math class. We've got problem 27. And we've got x minus y squared equals 27. Okay. And we've got the steps to do. And then we do a squiggly line again. I do the squiggly line because I'm not very good at drawing a straight line, and because it allows for more visual separation. It's easier for me to see where one section or one chunk ends and one chunk begins. And then with my notes, because I'm a very, my notes disappeared. Because I'm a very visual person, I'll go back in other colors and write on that. And that's my review. So before we go on, we've got the Cornell method on the right, where we've got a section for the notes. We've got a Q column that just kind of summarizes. And then the summary at the bottom is for after you finish class. We've got my method where I put my Q over here and I separate the section by squiggly lines. So this is another note-taking method that another tutor introduced me to, and I think it's great. So what we've got is we've got a box with 4 sections, and then we've got a concept or a keyword in the middle, and it breaks it down into different pieces of that concept. We've got the definition, we've got examples, we've got characteristics or facts, and then we've got non-examples. Having that contrast can help us remember. And this is a great demonstration of that, of a sonnet. Okay, so sonnet is what the student is learning about. They've got the definition, where it's a short poem of 14 lines with rhymes arranged according to a scheme, and it goes into more of that. It's got examples of what a sonnet is. It's got facts about the sonnet and some strict rhyming schemes or poetic meter with 10 beats a line, and then it's got some non-examples. And this can be a great way to organize information. So try these different note-taking or note-taking methods and see what works for you. This is one of my favorite things to talk about with study skills, celebrating your achievements. The truth is that learning anything is difficult, even if we have aptitude for it. It takes work, it takes perseverance, and it takes dedication. Be proud of yourself. Be excited about the progress that you've made. When you get a problem right, when you understand the concept, feel that excitement of, yes, I was able to do this. Maybe it's like with that feeling when you finish that jigsaw puzzle. But recognize that and allow yourself to celebrate that. So learning is difficult even with aptitude, and it's important to recognize your progress and how much you've made. The last thing about celebrating achievements is something called a growth mindset. And basically, it is reminding ourselves that this is hard, but we've done hard things before. Think of something that you're good at now. We don't always remember, but typically something that we're good at was hard in the beginning. But we put in the time, whether it's soccer, whether it's basketball, whether it's woodworking, whether it's gardening. If we've developed that skill, it was probably hard in the beginning. We don't always remember that because of the enjoyment that we get, but recognize that you've learned things that were difficult before, and you can still. And I like the power of yet, this idea that I haven't mastered it yet. I have a good friend who has been trying to learn piano for 6 years, and her attitude is amazing. She's like, I haven't done it yet, but she still puts in the effort. She's enjoying and she's celebrating how she's making progress. And especially in our current climate, recognizing and enjoying your progress, recognizing that you can do this is incredibly empowering and incredibly important. So just as a quick review, the basics are taking care of your health as much as we can, good sleep habits, positive mental health, and eating as well as you can. Layering is extremely important, and it helps kind of sometimes take that fatigue off of your brain as you meaningfully engage in the subject material. And with meaningful repetition, time management, looking at your schedule, seeing what you've got, blocking out those times for that little Pomodoro method, where you set 25 minutes, you work on it, and you give yourself a reward for doing so. Active reading, where you put the material into your own words. You can ask questions too, like, what did the author mean by this? Reading a textbook, where we can sometimes start at the end of the chapter with those little section summaries and give our brain a preview before we really jump into the nitty-gritty of the material. Different note-taking methods that we can try, and the importance of celebrating your achievement. So thank you for listening. And just as a quick plug, online tutoring is available through the Academic Support Center. Follow this link. We love talking about this, the subjects that we tutor. We hope to hear from you soon and hope that you are having a great day.